Hello, everyone. This is Whitney Webb from Star Hearth Astrology, and I'm here today to talk to you about the astrology of the week from December 22nd until December 29th. And oh my gosh, what a big week. Normally, I do these weekly check ins on Instagram, but because I'm taking all of Venus retrograde off from Instagram, I'm going to be doing them on YouTube. So here we go. This week is really one of the biggest weeks of 2021 in terms of the number of transits that cover really big themes that pile up together. And so, I mean, it almost feels like, yeah, I mean, for this to be the last week of 2021 and one of the biggest ones, I mean, I don't think we've had a week this big since some of the huger kind of packed transits that we had in November and probably May and February. Um, there's just a lot that happens this week. And so there will probably be some kind of scene changes, some theme changes. Our experience of our lives and ourselves can have this week really as a turning point. And it's also the holidays, and the holidays are in a normal year, charged with um, all the kind of hangovers of family trauma and relational stuff, and right, what the sense of the pain and loss of the year gone, and the stuff that didn't happen, and um, coming forward and talking to people about it, and this year we also have a year full of COVID, full of isolation, full of loss of different people in our lives. And so to have kind of the holidays just filled with this kind of some of these more fraught transits just kind of cranks the volume up on that. And so I think it's really important to just take deep breaths and be gentle with ourselves and not push the boundaries, but have respect for the the soft animal of our bodies um, and our experiences, and not force ourselves out of our comfort zone so much. Um, really invite ourselves into a deep processing of this stuff, because I think for a lot of people, this has been a year of grief. And I think the holiday season brings that up for people. Um, so now I'm going to talk about the specific transits. Um, yeah, I was wondering if I could share my screen, but I don't think that I can, or at least I don't know how. Um, so I'm recording this on Wednesday, the 22nd of December, and we just had the solstice yesterday, and the sun moved into the sign of Capricorn. So we're beginning this week now in Capricorn season. And Capricorn season follows the winter solstice, is the first month officially of winter. And what does it mean for the skies to be in winter? And how does Capricorn season reflect that? Well, Capricorn is the sign ruled by Saturn. And Saturn, among other things, presides over slowness, right? Because when we look around outside at the world, it's kind of painted in a lot of grays here in the Northern Hemisphere, with these kind of gray skies and leaves gone from the trees. And there's this kind of sense that we're in this place of stillness, and we're in this place of slowness, and that nothing is happening. The wisdom of Saturn and kind of the gift of Saturn is these slow changes, these imperceptible things that in the moment you can't feel them moving or shifting. And yet, when you look back over a longer period of time, you can really see how much progress was made. But that's really different from the kind of moon's sense of progress of like, let's change things really fast and be able to feel them within a couple days, or the sun's sense of progress too. And so we kind of honor this position of darkness and of slowness, and really um, the fruitfulness of the darkness, and how the darkness and the slowness, and when things look very still on the surface, how much is coming into being in the dark underneath, right? Seeds don't, well, some of them need light to sprout, but most of them are going to sprout in this darkness, and we cannot perceive how much growth is happening under the surface of the ground. And so this is a season for that, where you can feel the stirrings of the coming year. You can feel these these kind of wishes of yourself from deep time, and yet they probably won't appear on the surface. In Dane Rudyard's work with the phases of the moon, he talks about the winter solstice being the time of the new moon. And I think that's so beautiful, because the new moon is this kind of liminal space between two cycles. And right, as opposed to a full moon where we can look up in the sky and see, the moon is full. With a new moon, we have the absence of light. And so the boundaries between the endings of things and the beginnings of other things are more blurred together, right? If we didn't have these kind of nifty computers and mathematical programs to tell me, yes, the new moon happens at 8:35 a.m., right? Nothing in my perception would be able to tell me that, right? I could see the moon disappear and then, disappear for 3 or 4 days and come back, and I would see the crescent moon born again on the side of the sun. But the moment where we switch from an old cycle into a new cycle is much more ambiguous. And I think that's true of this time of year too, and how we experience the overlap of the sense of the year gone and the year that is coming into being. And so I would just invite you to take a breath and to feel yourself at the crossroads of these cycles, wherever you are. To know that just by being here with an honest heart, and trying to heal your life and the lives of others and contribute something good and beautiful to the world and find your place inside of it, that is enough, and that you deserve rest in this time of year, and to trust that as the year grows and the sun returns and we have more light, the life that exists inside of you without your effort will bring things into being that you could never have dreamed of. And so I invite you to just rest in that space during this week and the weeks to come, as we fall from the Gemini full moon towards a Capricorn new moon that happens on January 2nd. To just be in this place of understanding how beginnings and endings overlap. And we rarely have clear-cut moments that mark the difference between two cycles of being. Now, for the transits this week, we have our third and final, but kind of final, exact square between Saturn and Uranus that happens on Christmas Eve, so on Friday. It happens at 11 degrees of Aquarius, so those of us with fixed signs placed heavily in our charts, we had the first Saturn-Uranus square at 7 degrees, the second one at 13, this third one falls right in the middle at 11 degrees. And it's right, this simultaneous urge to build structure and to tear it down and to exist without structure. And so, um, right, if we look into our lives, we see this process happening, right? Parts of our lives, the Aquarian part, trying to visualize what we want things to look like and put in the hard Saturnian work to bring them into being. Meanwhile, the Uranian piece in Taurus, foiling that work and challenging it and um, throwing in problems that we have to deal with in order to create that structure. We see it in society, right? There's these at this more collective level, like, okay, this is what things are going to look like for the future. But we can't get to the future if we're not taking care of the Taurus piece of things, the environment, our physical security, our well being, right? Those feel really insecure at the end of, or I mean, it's probably not the end. However deep we are into this pandemic, which has hit so many people um, so hard in kind of financial and economic ways that really are triggering insecurity. And so, how do you kind of build this Aquarian utopia when our basic needs are not being met? Very difficult work. So, we have that on Christmas Eve. And so, we might see, some of the other things we've seen with that volatility in the economy and the stock market. Extreme weather is one of the things that we look at, as well as power struggles um, within the collective. So there's that. And then on Saturday, on Christmas, we have our second exact conjunction of Venus and Pluto. That's kind of bringing these ripples of intense desire home to the heart. I've seen these show up in positive and negative ways, right? This exact conjunction, I would be more emphatic about it if Venus had separated from this conjunction. We had the first exact conjunction on December 11th, but Venus was moving so slowly that she didn't actually get very far away from it. So really, we've had 2 weeks of a Venus-Pluto conjunction. And this we get the exact hit again. So I don't think it will be as extreme as it might have been because we're already in the thick of it. She will start separating from this conjunction by the middle of next week. And that, I think, we will realize how intense it was when we feel the separation, when Venus gets a little bit farther from Pluto. So by the time I'm here again in a week talking about this, I think we'll be feeling a little bit of a sigh of relief of like, whoa, I was really gripped by something. And so just know that that could be really intense over Christmas when our sense of desire and wishes and closeness are peaked, right? As I said at the beginning of the video, just by, by the intensity of the holidays. So that's what we have. And then on Tuesday of next week, so we've got, a kind of nice weekend with the moon in Libra trying to smooth things over. Then on Tuesday of next week, we get Jupiter moving into Pisces. And so this is really big too. We're going to have Jupiter leaving Aquarius for the final time, won't be back for 12 years. And Jupiter is going to move into Pisces for 5 months, which is really one of the defining features of the beginning of 2022. We have Jupiter back in a sign of its rulership after 2 years of being in Saturn signs with Saturn for parts of them. Where the greater benefic Jupiter, our ability to kind of feel connected and feel hopeful and have faith, has really been struggling against the stark terms of Saturn. And so Jupiter back into its own sign, I think, is going to help us all feel a little bit more buoyant, and mood and connectivity is going to be able to be kind of more helpful. And so I think that will be good. I think some of the fixed signs might struggle a little bit because Jupiter is leaving the sign with Saturn, where it could do a little bit of remediation and making things kind of better. Now Saturn's going to be alone in that place. And so, if Saturn is aspecting your ascendant, there can be a little bit of mental health struggles, especially when Jupiter leaves. But the kind of goodness of Jupiter will be coming from will be coming from the Pisces house, and that will also, right, improve the area of your life where the house that Sagittarius rules in your chart also, since Jupiter rules both Pisces and Sagittarius. And then finally on the 29th, and I'll talk about this again when we get there, we have Mercury conjoin retrograde Venus, which I feel like, again, how I said, when Venus is separating from this conjunction with Pluto, I think we'll be able to feel it and understand it. And right, we've got Mercury coming right up to Venus. We have this conjunction where, right, the head and the heart have this moment of coming together, of discussing these things, and yeah, kind of understanding a little bit, right? We'll be kind of almost 2 weeks into the Venus retrograde, understanding what the Venus retrograde is about for us a little bit. Now, the interesting thing that also happens on the 29th is that Mercury will go into the shadow of its own retrograde that it's going to go into in mid-January. And so this Mercury retrograde in January is so tied into the Venus retrograde because Venus stationed retrograde at 26 degrees of Capricorn, and Mercury is going to station direct at 24 degrees of Capricorn. So they're each involved with Pluto, right? Mercury is going to also conjoin Pluto 3 times, and they're stationing right at the same place. So there's something about the heart of Capricorn 24 to 26 that is really being emphasized by these two retrogrades. And I think it ties into whatever Venus goes through. Venus things we process not up here. We process Venus things through our body, through our senses, through our heart, through our longing, through our libido. And I don't just mean sexual libido, but the kind of Jungian sense of libido, the stuff that brings you alive and moves you towards something. It's Mercury that's going to process things through ideas and through communication and conversations that we have with people. So I think with this Venus-Mercury conjunction, Mercury will be able to talk, will be ready to talk about it, and things will kind of pass from the intuitive space of the heart and the sensual space of the body into a more cerebral place. And Mercury in Capricorn is very practical, is going to want to know what to do with this information. It's not just going to sit on it. And it's also not going to want to act too impulsively on it. So there's this kind of like, okay, I've been thinking about this person. I want to make amends with this person, which is one of the things that Venus retrograde does. This day might be a good time to reach out and actually do that. Or try and at least put things into words. So that's what I have for you. I mean, the Saturn-Uranus square, the Venus-Pluto conjunction, and Jupiter going into Pisces, those are all kind of like big headline news for 2021. And to have them all happening in the same week, it's a very potent week during a very potent week anyway. This time right around Christmas and between Christmas and New Year's. So again, I just want to hearken back to, we're in Capricorn season, we're in the season of slowness, the season of winter in the Northern Hemisphere, and just having that patience for what feels ripe and ready to move forward within you and what needs more time. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, however you're spending it. I hope you are gentle with yourself, and I will be back next week. And let me know in the comments how this lands for you, how you're experiencing these transits. I love to hear kind of how it shows up in your chart.